Hello, welcome back to The Mill, a podcast brought to you by Mill & Co. Today is probably one of my absolute favorite guests that we have ever had, the incomparable Juliana Choo. Her pronouns are she, her, and hers. She's currently a full-time student studying public relations at Boston University and worked as an intern turned part-time project manager with us at Mill & Co. for a little over a year. She was born in South Korea and has been living in New York with her family since 2012. Aside from work, she's been dancing for over 15 years and is currently dancing on 2 different teams. She loves new experiences and hopes to continue growing as a person and a professional as she navigates through diverse opportunities and all the incredible things that life is going to inevitably throw your way. Juliana, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Rachel.
It's so fun. You're usually behind the
I
scenes
know.
for all of our viewers. Juliana, for the last year and a half, has been the muscle, the brains, the operations behind the Mill podcast. So it's finally time to bring her in front of the camera and ask her some very pointed questions.
Yes, I am ready.
Well, first of all, I'd love to start with some personal questions. So you're studying PR at BU.
Mhm.
A lot of short acronyms here. You're studying public relations at Boston University. What are your hopes for how this makes its way into your career in your future?
Yeah, honestly, when I first heard about PR, I did not know much about it. I just knew that I wanted to study something in communications, and knowing that Boston University had a great school of communication, I just knew I wanted to be there. And so when I was searching for majors, I was like, PR seems the most approachable, it seems fun, and I honestly went on YouTube and I searched up what is PR and what do people do, and what people were saying, it was like a lot of it was very diverse area. Like there was like
Mm.
event coordinating, like media outreach and social media. Like there was so much that I felt like I could really, because I didn't have one set thing that I wanted to do. I
Right.
felt like it would be very fun to kind of start off as a PR major and see what I like.
Mm.
And I came to realize that I'm not a big fan of the traditional PR, in
Mm.
terms of like, media and all that. It is very important for sure. It is a very crucial part. But I realize it's not my favorite thing to do. And so I am diving more into the strategy part, which I think it was sparked from Mill & Co. And so I'm just ready to, with my PR major, try to explore different agencies and see what I like and just go from there.
You know, what's so interesting is recently I've had a lot of clients approach us and ask about traditional PR in the sense of press releases, reaching out to publications, news outlets. And Mill & Co doesn't do traditional PR. And it's a decision that I made years ago when I launched the business, because when you think about really traditional PR, certainly there are industries that benefit from it. Fashion's one, right? Um, but for us, we really anchor ourselves on strategy and data. So for me to put something in a print ad or even on a publication that's going to restrict the amount of data that they provide back to me, it's not really worth the investment. I'd rather run an ad to a hyper targeted audience, know exactly who's receiving it, be able to place a pixel on our client's website and track through Google Analytics actual traffic and hopefully ROI. So certainly no knock on PR. Obviously, there's a reason that it exists and continues to exist. But for us, yeah, we had a similar realization as you, Juliana, of like, I really like to focus on the strategy and thinking of other non-traditional routes to spread awareness.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about it like in our classes, like how do we, like what is the KPI? Like how do we know when something works?
Mm.
And it seems like it's a lot of endless just do it, just send it kind of thing, and we'll see where that takes us. But of course, there's value, like you said, in traditional PR. But I think in terms of what I also enjoy doing and what I think is effective in terms of who the client is and all that, I think just kind of stepping aside from the traditional realm and going a little more into strategy and seeing what works, utilizing different platforms. I think that's what I want to focus on.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm right there with you. So, obviously, this is a really hard question to ask a young person still in college, but what are some of your long-term career goals? And what careers do you think you might want to explore that maybe you haven't up to this point? Or is your long-term goal just to come work for Mill& Co. full time?
See, that's on the list. I think, at least in terms of, I think as college students, we first think about like where we want to be in terms of location. And I definitely want to be in New York, where I'm from. Just working in New York City, I think is just really exciting. There are a lot of opportunities, and like the networking, and everyone just knows everyone, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so that's in terms of location. And I really love the pace of agencies and just being able to explore different industries. And I still don't know exactly what one industry that I feel most passionate about. So I
Mm.
think that's why I want to start off in agency. But also long term, I think I would want to go in house after I see if I find an industry that I'm interested in. Then, yeah, I would want to explore that because that's another um, very separate thing that seems fascinating to me. And I've talked to a lot of professionals who have gone from agency into in house, and I think that um, it seems very fun to me.
Yeah.
So that is for now my long term goal.
Oh, that's so interesting. And it's so funny, Juliana. I talk to a lot of folks who have kind of the opposite idea where they're like, I kind of want to just start with marketing at one place on the client side, as we call it. And then I might want to move over to the agency if I get bored of that. But on the agency side, it's definitely going to be way more fast paced, more balls in the air. You may be managing anywhere from 2 to 5 different clients with 5 to 15 different projects, and so it's a really fun, fast paced life, but maybe not forever for everybody. And especially if you find an affinity in an industry like healthcare or aviation or food and beverage, CPG, right? Making a move into the client space is actually really exciting because you can go deep into that vertical. The other thing I throw out to you would be there are some agencies out there, unlike Mill and Co, that specialize in specific industries, right? Like there are food and beverage specific advertising agencies. So that's another option for you or anyone that's listening that's trying to think about a career in advertising. Definitely do your homework because there's a lot of options out there for you.
I think another thing is that agent when you start at an agency, there's so because it is fast paced and you are in charge of a lot of different tasks at once, you're just able to pick up a lot of skills very fast. And that could be a little slower if it starts in house. So I think that's
Mhm.
something that I value. Just so my first couple of years, I just want to get as much skills in as possible, get that practice in, and then use that, what I've learned, into one specific
Mhm.
company that I want to study more and really invest in. So that's kind of my thought process.
Yeah, I still credit my very first advertising job. It was a very traditional agency, and I felt very classically trained, meaning I would learn all the really important small and large details down to crafting a proper project brief, developing a scope of work for a client versus for maybe a contractor, right? Thinking about process, thinking about creative reviews, edits, feedback loops. There's so much that I've learned that, of course, I've made my own over time, but I learned it at a really traditional place. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful. In a total 180, thinking about being creative and strategic, but also expressing yourself, you do that through dance. And I'd love to know, how do you see your opportunities, your abilities, you competing in dance, contributing to your growth, both personally and professionally?
Yeah, dance is such a big part of my life just because I've been doing it since I was 5. And
Yeah.
it's been where I release my stress, but also can express who I am. And it's sometimes hard to do it verbally. And so
Mm.
doing it through my body and just showing like because even everyone dances differently, and that's like your own personality. And just to be able
Mhm.
to recognize, like, it's really cool just because I'm able to see who it is by how they dance. So being
Mm,
able to recognize that and me being able to express that in my own way, I think is very special. And the dance community is very tight. Everyone knows everyone, especially in areas like New York and Boston, where when
mm,
you're an active dancer and you go to all these workshops, classes, and you always see the same faces over and over again. And so just that community, it's very warm, and I learn a lot from everyone in the community. And I do plan on continuing to dance after I graduate. I've never danced as much as I do right now in college. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, I dance at least 10 hours a week, and it is crazy. Yeah,
jeez.
but it's so much fun. I've met a lot of amazing people through it. And yeah,
Yeah.
I love choreographing. I love just moving my body to music I like, to put it at that. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And it's so great too that I don't know if you have yet made these correlations, but you're not just on the team. In many instances, you are leading the choreography, you are coordinating schedules with everyone. You're very much, while you're dancing individually sometimes, as a team sometimes, you're learning so many important life and professional skills being a dancer in college.
Because we used our team, it got a lot smaller recently, but we used to be 30
Mm,
people. That's a lot of people in one team. So, and
yeah.
one time when we had 30 members, I was the artistic director. So I was one of the co-directors. And to put everyone on that stage is crazy. It's a lot of work, but it also means
Yeah.
so much to be able to say, "Hey, I did that." And there were a lot
Mhm.
of bumps here and there in terms of the team dynamic and some conflicts that we had. Of course, there's always conflict, but I learned a lot from just how I grew up and seeing how others grew up and what they believe is right in terms of culture, and just being I really realized that everyone has different values, and for me I need to really respect that. And in terms of how I come off, I need to just be careful about the things I say, how I express it. And I really learned through that. And I did shed some tears here and there, but it was learning process, and I definitely grew as a leader. I know a lot better in terms of how I should talk to people. And so yeah.
Yeah, it will continue to serve you well, including just being a really nice, fun outlet for you to just express yourself. I want to shift gears quickly to talk about how we've known each other. So, like I mentioned, you started out as an intern with us. Let's talk our adoring fans through what happened to get you to then become a part-time project manager
Yeah,
for us.
it's been a journey for sure. So I started my internship at Mill and Co in spring 2023, and I just learned so much within just a couple months. And it was a very different team dynamic, where I was working under two account managers, and I was helping them with their tasks
Mhm.
here and there. And it was great, and I learned a lot. And afterwards, when the semester ended, and we were entering summer, I realized I feel like there's still so much more to learn and so much I could contribute. And I just love you, Rachel. And so I just wanted to stick around a little bit longer. And so that's when I reached out to you and was like, hey, can I stay for a little bit longer? And then you kindly offered me a part time role as project manager. And so ever since then, it's been a heck of a journey. Yeah.
Well, the feeling is very, very mutual, Juliana, and it's been such an honor, and you have single-handedly set a bar that I didn't know existed for future interns and full-time employees as well. And I hope I mean that really genuinely. Um, and I think for anyone who's watching who is in the position to go get an internship, one of the many things that Juliana did really well is she was constantly thinking ahead. You were very, very organized. And I think most importantly, which is especially rare to see, particularly in young women, is you advocated for yourself. Certainly, you were in an environment where you felt safe to do so. That is absolutely a factor. But you are the one that chose to come to me to say, I'd like to stay in a paid part time role. Will you have me? Which, of course, it was a no brainer. Yes, please never leave. You're here forever now. And so I want you to give yourself some credit for that. And I think anyone who's watching, please take this as a lesson in the right way to handle a really great opportunity for yourself. You're welcome. So I'd love to know if you have one, what's your favorite part about working with Mill and Co?
Honestly, I was thinking about this, and it's honestly a struggle because I love all of it. um, uh, I think it's really I really found interest in the intern management, even though it
Mm,
is, and I didn't think I would be taking so much responsibility in terms of the program, but I was so grateful to be able to take charge with it and run with it, and and also thank you for trusting me enough to run it with on my own. But yeah, it's been really exciting just seeing other students grow in terms of their career and person, because just thinking back to how, when I initially did the onboarding with them, and we struggled here and there because a lot of the times it was their first internship or their first agency internship, so they weren't familiar with the process and especially how um, important communication is. So, and that,
mm,
yeah, I think that was the biggest trouble that I faced with a lot of interns. But yeah, just seeing how much they grew, it just felt very rewarding for me, as like a mentor, but also as like supervisor. And so I think that it means a lot to be able to supervise these lovely individuals.
yeah, that the growth, the witnessing the growth is one of my favorite things. And I not only get to have that with our team members and employees and even contractors that we work with, but even with our clients, to watch them send me an email and be like, hey, Rachel, I just want you to know I listened to your advice about LinkedIn and I shared that post and I got a ton of likes and engagement and people commenting. And it was so great. I'm like a proud mom, like, good job. You listened, you did it, and I bet, for you, making that transition from an intern to a project manager was an interesting transition for sure. I'd love for you to share, what did you find was the most challenging part of this transition? And also what was the most exciting part of this
Yeah, I
transition?
think it was a bizarre idea that I went from an intern into a part-time, and to have the title of a project manager. First of all, it sounds cool, so I really enjoyed that. But
It is
yeah, so
cool.
like whenever someone asks like, so what's your part-time? I'm like, so I'm a project manager. They're like, oh, yeah.
Ooh, wow.
But I think the biggest struggle was probably just thinking like, am I qualified for this? Just kind of thinking about that
Mm,
and thinking about like how much control can I have, and kind of like
mm,
how I thought a lot about how I should, especially the internship role, because that internship supervising role, because that relies on me to help others like underneath, and supervising, it's a lot of pressure, especially to have, since we have two interns to manage both of them. So I just thought a lot about how I could tailor their experience to be what I had, and to make sure that, because Milenko, like our internship program, we pride ourselves in that it's it's really a hands-on experience that's very different from typical agency internships that kind of just have you sit there and
Mhm.
I don't know, do like Excel sheet stuff. And so for us to have that pride, like I wanted to keep that up. So I try to think like what are some ways to make sure the interns value really have a great time. Um, and so I think that was a struggle just thinking about how I should tailor this program more, and
Mm.
also balancing out my other tasks in terms of like social media, email marketing, and podcasts. So just seeing like how to split up my time efficiently to make sure I can stay organized and make sure everything is done. I think that was the biggest struggle because um, there was a lot more
Mm.
responsibility, obviously, shifting from an intern. So, and also with
Yeah.
the timeline that we had, especially with the team changing, the dynamic, there was a lot
Mm.
of things that, like, I didn't think that I would be responsible for that I gratefully took on. Um, but it was definitely something to get used to. And in terms of exciting, I mean, like I said, the position's cool. Like it's a lot of responsibility, and um, I personally enjoy having a lot of responsibility. Like just being able to tackle a lot and owning that. It's
Mhm.
very it means a lot. And for you to also trust me in terms of like the work and it really means a lot. Um, so I've honestly had a great time, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, rest assured, trust with me is earned, not given. So, you need to feel really proud of yourself. And I was excited to bring you on here because we do have interns every semester, and I want them to realize your experience is going to be whatever you want it to be. If this is just going to be an internship for you, that's fantastic, right? Get the experience, get your feet wet, you know, figure out if this is an industry that you like. But at Mill and Co, there are opportunities for those who seek them, and I'm always looking for folks who are self-starters and self-motivated. And so I'd love for you to share, what did you feel was your greatest impact as a project manager at Mill and Co?
My role as a part-time project manager, it didn't exist before. Specifically like things I'm responsible for and just this team dynamic. So I think having that figured out was probably hopefully it was helpful for you in terms of how Milenko runs. Because in the past it was the account managers who work with clients but also work with interns, and it could be a lot. And so just being able to create this structure for this role, to be able to take uh, on with the internal work and the interns, like just setting that, like, I don't want to say role model, but just having that structure for the other people to come in later on, just setting that, I think it is probably the biggest impact.
Without question, it was always where, an intern would be assigned to an account manager, and they did a great job at doing that. But their time was definitely split. And when you approached me to come on in more of a part-time manner after your internship, is when my mind really started to float around the idea of we need to treat our internship program like we treat one of our client accounts. It does deserve that kind of level of expectation, attention, process, structure, which we've never really had before around the interns, which I feel confident has created a better experience for the interns because they really feel like they're a part of this, not just kind of an afterthought. So, you've built that for us. And now the challenge is having to maintain and continue to fill that role, because it's not necessarily a full-time job at this point. So you've given me quite a bit to think about in terms of what does this look like in the future? How do we continue? At the end of the day, the only reason we even have an internship program is because I really believe in the importance of having young college students learn what they do and don't like before they spend years, months, even weeks of their lives post graduation in an area that's just not for them. So, last question for you. What's next?
So I do have a upcoming internship work opportunity lined up, so I'm very excited as it is in New York City. And so I've always had so far other internships I had to they were all virtual. Same thing with Mill and Co. So I'm excited to get that a little more in person experience. And honestly, I am entering my senior year now. So I am also ready to just
Amazing.
relax and enjoy my last year because I've been really going at it the past 3 years with everything. So and you can attest to that. So yeah, so I
Sure
am
can.
just ready to just sit back, relax, enjoy my time in Boston. And also for my last semester, I plan on studying abroad in Tokyo, which is very exciting. And after that, we'll see where we go.
Yeah. I have no doubt you're gonna land somewhere incredible. And if this podcast episode happens to reach any agency owners in Manhattan, make note now that Juliana is someone that you're gonna wanna talk to. Juliana, it's been such an honor and a privilege. You've changed the way that I think about our business. And you are the reason that we do our internship program the way that we do it. And so I want to thank you publicly, um, and aggressively that you have just changed the game for us in all the right ways.
Like Milenko really has changed how I see things, how I think about who I want to work under, especially, and the type of team that I want to work with. So just I know what I value in terms of the next opportunities that I want to take on. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I talked to a lot of young folks about traditional advertising agencies in the industry, and we're definitely, I feel confidently that we're moving into more of an inclusive, supportive, kind, non-hostile space. But there are certainly, and it's not just isolated to advertising, there are companies out there that um, value beating the shit out of their employees instead of just promoting them, uplifting them, empowering them. And so I hope if you've taken nothing else from this internship, Juliana, it is that no one tells you anything that you don't want to believe, right? You know who you are, you know what you value, you know what you bring to the table. No one's going to tell you otherwise. Never forget it. I'll send you a plaque or something. Well, Juliana, it has been such an honor to pull you out from behind the camera to bring you onto our podcast today. It has been such an honor to work with you for the last year plus. Thank you for everything that you've done. For anyone who is interested in learning more about Juliana and following along with her incredible last year of college as she finishes up her internship and following along with all of her probably great food posts that she'll post from Tokyo when she's studying abroad, as I know I will be doing, please connect with her on LinkedIn. If anyone wants to talk to me about my experience working with Juliana, please reach out. And until next time, thank you very much for tuning into the mill.